Welcome, Matt. An interesting load of results. What are you thinking for Matt's moment?
We were spoilt for choice, actually, this time, and I was loving the amount of late goals. But for Matt's moment this week, I'm going to talk about a game where there wasn't any late drama. This game was kind of done and dusted with 15 minutes to go, and it was Leicester 1, Forest 3. Yes, I know we're talking about Nottingham Forest again, but it's because they've been so good. And last time we spoke about them, I think it was after they beat Liverpool, and it felt as if, was this their early peak of the season, and it might slowly just peter towards mid-table and maybe top half of the bottom half, if that makes sense. But they are keeping up this great start, and their away form is incredible. They've only lost one game this season, and you look at the numbers here, Ben, second best defensive record this season in the Premier League, behind Liverpool, who've only conceded 5. Forest have conceded 7. I just want to give so much credit to those defenders, first of all. I mean, Milenkovic has got to be up there for one of the signings of the season, and him next to Murillo, they just look really solid, to a point where when they come up against your Man Cities and your Arsenals, you think to yourself, okay, well, those teams are going to be the favourites, but Forest can certainly stick in this game with that back line. Chris Wood obviously needs a mention again. He just keeps scoring goals, doesn't he?
That swivel finish, how good was that?
What I love about that goal, Ben, is he doesn't even need to look at the goal. He doesn't look at the goal at all. He's looking over there. And I think he said in like a post-match interview, he just knows where the goal is. And obviously his numbers reflect that. He's got an instinct to know where it is and just to sneak it into that bottom corner. It was an incredible goal. Third goal, clever little goal as well. He latches onto a miscommunication at the back between the defenders and the goalkeeper and seals the deal. And as good as, like I say, Forest are as a team, without Wood, obviously they wouldn't be maybe as high as they are. He is getting the goals that is keeping them moving. In these close games, he is winning.
Matt, they don't have
2-1.
Don't have Gibbs White at the moment either, do they?
No, they don't, but they've got so much quality otherwise, I suppose. I mean, Gibbs White, don't get me wrong, I really like Gibbs White, but Hudson-Odoi causes so many defenders problems, even though people know what he's going to do. You know he's going to cut in. You know he's going to try and finesse it into that bottom corner or something, but they can't stop him. You've got Elanga as well. And I think we need to give a special mention to Ryan Yates as well, because as much as this Forest team has evolved since it's been in the Premier League, he's been a constant, and he got a goal against Leicester. He got the first goal to get this going. It's a good little finish, that one. So I'm pleased to see him still chipping in and making contributions, because what it felt like to me on Friday was, I've actually thought, and don't be insulted by this comparison, but I look at Leicester City and they remind me a bit of Forest in their first season with Cooper. You see them maybe just pulling out enough results to maybe just stay up. But Forest, since then, have obviously gone to a new level. And it was nice that the Forest fans gave some credit to Steve Cooper. I think they were singing his name. They were chanting his songs. And obviously they've moved on with Nuno now. I mean, some people might look at that and think, oh, why are they singing the Cooper songs? It's kind of like texting your ex-girlfriend in front of your current girlfriend. But I don't think Nuno was too offended. They were still singing the Nuno songs afterwards. And no, I really like how far Forest have progressed. And you've got to hand it to them, Ben. 12 points above the bottom 3 already. Something would have to go very badly wrong for them to start getting sucked into that conversation. So, Forest fans, keep looking upwards and maybe get your passports out.
Stuff it. Outstanding. We get a lot of comments when we do the clip every week, Matt, when we're talking about the relegation zone, from Forest fans going, oh, nice to be completely not even mentioned in this in the slightest. And it looks like it's going to stay that way for the longest time. I saw a stat, Matt, and I think it might have been last week's game. So remember, Forest bought the players in the first window, and we've discussed this to death, but they did what they had to do given they got promoted with like 5 loan players or something like that. And I believe like only one of the 22 or something was on the pitch, and he was playing for Crystal Palace. It was Dean Henderson. So they've done what they've had to do. They've had to cope with a massive load of churn. I totally agree with you about Ryan Yates, because this was not even you and I both cover the EFL. This happened in the EFL where every Forest manager would come in, and Forest fans will know they've had a lot, and they all end up picking Ryan Yates, even though you think, he's the workaday central midfielder. They all pick him. He must be the best trainer, the best pro. He's the blooming captain. One player I did want to ask you about was Elliot Anderson, as well. I think there was a little bit at the start of the season, everyone's saying, oh, this is silly now, this FFP thing. And Forest and Everton and Newcastle are all kind of, and Villa as well, all just trading with each other. And why have they spent that amount of money on a 21-year-old from another Premier League team? But he's slotted in absolutely beautifully as well. So it's all coming up roses for Forest, Matt. And as well, we kind of looked at the soft start and the fixtures, but they've drawn against Newcastle, they've won at Liverpool, and they've drawn against Chelsea as well. So you literally can't say that, even though they've had wins against Leicester and Palace and Southampton. They're just a good side, aren't they?
They are. They've really come on leaps and bounds. And I think you're right to mention Elliot Anderson and the business they did in this summer, because at the very start of the summer, I was a bit like, oh, Forest have got to be careful. You don't want to get hit with FFP again. They did have outgoings, which seemed to balance the books. And I'm not sure if it's part of the deal with Elliot Anderson coming in that Vlachodimos, the goalie, went over to Newcastle. And that seems to have been a masterstroke from Forest, because Elliot Anderson's come in. He's been great, of course. They look solid at the back. The keeper's been decent this season as well. He needs a mention. You can't even say it's been an easy start as well, Ben. Look, you look at the fixtures. Liverpool, Brighton away in particular, those games, they've done really, really well. It's weird, actually, that this season they seem to have been better away than they have been at home. Maybe they'll win.
No, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, they got a home game against West Ham this weekend, and I think they'll fancy their chances with that one. They did win their most recent home game against Palace 1-0. I will say, though, looking at December, that looks interesting. Man City, Man United, Villa, those three in a row. But if you're, in the confidence Forest are, and they're keeping clean sheets the way they are and scoring goals, they should go into those games full of confidence. And yeah, honestly, they've got into a position where it's not like there's massive amounts of pressure in those games for Forest. It's kind of like, I don't want to say it's a free hit, because I think Forest are very capable of giving those teams a good game. But you get my point that they're not looking over their shoulder this season. They should be looking up the table and trying to stick around in that top 10, because there's other teams that we might have thought would be up there. I mean, Palace, for me, I think I predicted them to finish top 10 this season. They're down at the bottom trying to get away from that at the moment. So Forest can maybe fill that void and hang around in the top 10. Been very impressed.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the Manchester United job at the end of the show, and links with the Fulham manager as well. So there's potential that, you could get a Fulham job. Can I just quickly round it out, Matt, talking about Chris Wood? Because sometimes I feel sorry for maybe a little bit for the Newcastle fans, because they'll get a lot of stick saying, what'd you sell him for? He's banging the goals in. And to use an Ipswich analogy, you used to get it with Kiefer Moore, where Kiefer Moore played for Ipswich and it just didn't fit. It didn't work. He was pretty terrible. Bless him. He went out. He went on loan. He went other clubs, and he actually comes back on loan to kind of, say to all the Ipswich fans, well, look, here I am, and this is the player you could have had. But I think sometimes a player or a striker specifically just works best, and he's the main man at Forest, and they kind of play through him, and they're not afraid to hit him with direct balls like for the final goal he scored. But yeah, 7 goals. I think Mbeumo's got more, and Haaland's like playing a different sport to everybody. But what about Chris Wood, though?
Yeah, no, he seems to be like the final piece to the jigsaw, if that makes sense, because Forest in the last year or two have been really exciting down the sides. Of course, they had like Brennan Johnson, didn't they? They've got Morgan Gibbs-White, who plays just behind. You've now got Alanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi, and there's so much flair that if you've got the right man in the middle, he'll just make sure it goes over the line, if you know what I mean. I mean, before they were having, they had Awoniyi. He was all right. It always felt to me like the ball would hit him and go in. He'd just sort of bundle it over the line. Where there's a bit more maybe about Chris Wood in that moment, I suppose, at getting it past the goalkeeper. And yeah, I mean, I suppose his confidence is through the roof at the moment, and he's just doing so well. I suppose another thing with the 1 year is I think he struggled with a couple of injuries where Chris Wood seems to be keeping free. Touch wood for the Forest fans, because there's a pun there, touch wood, because they want to keep him free from injuries, because, like I say, as good as their team is, he's getting the goals that is really keeping them going.
Well done, Forest. Amazing start. We'll clip this out for Match Channel. So if you're commenting and watching over there, come out and check out the whole Premier League Check-In podcast over on the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. We'll see how far Nottingham Forest can take this.